in the global economy. I don't buy the argument that we're all going to become homogenized. But I do believe that nations and groups within nations have to work hard to protect their cultures. So I would like to ask you, Highness, to make a few remarks on this subject, and thank you for your work.
President, thank you very much. I would like to be brief and to the point, and try to illustrate some areas where I think American foreign policy could have a significant impact on the pluralism of culture around the world. I think the first issue that arises is one, President, which you raised, which is the question of language. And many of the world's most important cultures cannot communicate in the English language. They are not able to communicate. Their resources are constrained in their language, and in fact that has become worse due to the policies that were in place at the time of decolonization to treat language as a building block for nationhood. So countries opted for an African language or an Asian language, and in that way, in a sense, worsened the issue. So the first point I would make is that I think there are significant cultures around the world that would need to be assisted to convey to the world their cultures in English. That doesn't mean giving up the national language. It means exposing to global understanding their own culture. It will improve the global understanding. It will enhance their own respect for their own culture. The second issue that I would raise, as you asked about how to protect cultures in the developing world, is the issue of institutions. Institutions in the developing world, in the cultural field, are extremely weak. And this is particularly severe in higher education, where the humanities are not really taught to a significant level in the universities of Africa and Asia. The third issue I would raise is the people. People in the Western world who live from culture are able to live from their activities in an honorable manner, in a dignified manner. The carriers of culture in much of Asia and Africa, which is the part of the world I know, simply do not have the economic context in which they can survive from their commitments to culture. And the last point I would make is with regard to communications, where, President, you mentioned the issue. The United States has communications capacity, global communications capacity, which is unique in human history. It seems to me very important that these communications capabilities should be used to enhance understanding of the pluralism of human culture. And that message carried across the world, in the developing world in particular, seems to me a really essential issue. So these are the points that I would want to make very briefly as to perhaps areas which the panels may want to discuss, where United States policy could come in support with your institutions, with your academia, with your capacity to organize and plan, so that culture isn't the last item on the development list in most or many of the countries of Asia and Africa.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I think that we're very glad to have you here, Your Highness. We had a dinner